Welcome to the Source Seeker Hour. I'm your host, Bishop George Sanders, here with the founder, the visionary of the Source Seeker Hour and the Brighter Light Source Group, Baruti Alexander. Amen. We have some great guests on this show on tonight, and we're talking about a very exciting topic. Many people have tried to shy away from this topic. A lot of folks don't like to think about it because of the connotations of what it could hold for the future. But the question still remains, are we alone in the universe? Are there aliens among us? Is there something that the government does not want us to know? That's what we're going to be talking about on tonight. And I have some guests here with me, people that are very close to the Source Seeker Hour. If it's not a problem, before we get started, I just want to introduce them to you, and they could tell you real quick who they are, what they do, and then we'll get ready to get into the topic. I'm going to start first with our founder, with our visionary, Brother Baruti Alexander, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself.
Thank you, Bishop George. Thank you, everybody. I am Baruti Carl Alexander. I founded Source Seeker Hour to talk and help spread the word in the community. I also started the Brighter Source Group, a group that is determined to help combat community deterioration. And the Source Seeker Hour is one of the things that helps us to get our message out of what we're trying to do in the community. I also am privileged to be on the show about aliens. One of my books, I don't know if you all can see in the background here, it says Obama, the Extraterrestrial. And so many people have given me concern and ugly looks because of that word. Let me say, that is a title. The title catches your attention. The picture catches your attention. But certainly the book is pro-Obama. But it does present the ideal and the theory. If there were aliens, maybe that could represent why that brother was able to accomplish what he did in this difficult process for brothers to attain. And he attained the highest level in our political system that can be attained. So it's something, I could have named the book Obama the Extraordinary, and it would have worked just the same. But I kind of like the picture. And so that is who I am, Bishop George. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the show.
Oh, it's an honor. It's an honor. Also, I have someone very close to the Source Seeker Hour. Very humble young man, a great gentleman, but he helps us with our technical support, make sure that everything is going right. I'm talking about none other than something about yourself. I'm curious to know as well myself.
Thank you, Bishop. So my name is Jordan Davis. I used to serve on the Houston Mayor's Youth Council, and I've known Miss Brown since she was one of the administrators at my high school. So I've known her since then. And then she introduced me to Mr. Carl, which was a good honor for me. And then that's also how I met you. So this is really cool for me. I love technology, and to help is really an honor. To the topic about the aliens is really interesting to me. I don't know too much about it, so I'm interested to see what y'all's opinion is. So thank you for having me.
Great. I don't know if Lady Sharon Brown is able to come on. If she is, I'll wait for her. If not, I know that I think she's able. She's unmuted. And you told me that she's a former administrator, so school administration is right up my alley. I'm a old retired one myself, So I'm really excited to hear from Lady Sharon Brown. Sharon, we're ready.
Well, absolutely.
Looking beautiful today.
Thank you all so much for the invitation. It's great to be here. I'm in a learning mode also, as we are during this time. My name is Sharon Brown, and it's true, I've been in education here in Houston ISD for 22 years. I am
Wow.
thankful for that. I've been knowing Jordan for some years, and he's an extraordinary young man. And when I spoke with Baruti about this, and he said, well, Sharon, can you help us with the technology? And I want to, and I do, and I will, but a commitment I passed on to Jordan. So I'm thankful to be here. And Bishop, thank you so much. I'm interested to learn more about the topic. I have a few thoughts, but you know, one of our things to do is to be a lifelong learner. At this time, through my church, I do host a forum, and topics that will vary from week to week. So I'm here, number one, to support everyone here. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, please let me know.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Lady Sharon Brown, if you don't mind me calling you that, I am so grateful that you are on the show. Thank you. And the way that we're going to start this, I think is something that everybody can join in on. When we speak about extraterrestrials and an alien presence, how do we correlate that to technology? Because one of the things, and I really want to get you guys' opinion on that, because I remember growing up, and I'm a 70s kid, so I grew up in the 70s. So they were just switching from black and white to color. Mind you, as a young man growing up in the 70s, there were just as many black and white TVs as there were color TVs. We had black and white and color in the house. And I remember using these big phones that had a receiver and the thing. I don't know, Jordan, you may be too young to remember that, with the big coil that connected it. And all of a sudden, technology just began to burst. We had video games you could play on your TV. We had flip phones. We had people walking around with suitcases, old school that were car phones. Then the next thing we know, everything changed. Beepers, cellular, VCR, Blu-ray. I mean, it's like every time we look up now, there's a new technology. Do you think this is something that we're coming up from our own minds and imaginations, or are we getting help from an outside force? I wanna know. Baruti, I'll let you go ahead and get started with that and talk to us about that.
Well, in so many ways, you kind of mentioned about technology. One part of technology is about waves, electrical waves, or energy waves. And one of the things that people said about the pyramids is it had a conductive force because of where it is in the world and how the sun rays can come in and different rays from the energy field or the electric field around. And the ancient people knew how to draw those waves in and conduct those waves. And did they get that knowledge from extraterrestrials? That's always been a question. And how did they build the pyramids? Did they have some extraterrestrial knowledge? That's one of the oldest questions that is anywhere, and we still don't have an answer for it today. And we're trying to still ascertain the answer to whether aliens helped to build some of these great structures and what technology did they have to be able to do it. So it's so many different aspects to that. So yes, did aliens help us give us technology in this world? So that is a big question. That is a big question, Bishop George. Look like we have a little technical difficulty.
Yeah, it was. I had to unmute, but I'm here. I'm here. We will get through it. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I really wanna. You are dancing in it so big time, Carl. Where my thoughts and my heart is concerning technology. I wanted to see if Jordan had any thoughts or feelings on that as well.
Thank you. So I do think that we do get some type of help, maybe from extraterrestrial beings. Because we've really evolved with technology. Probably maybe since I would think the 90s. Because I was born in 1999, but I think since the 90s, from what I've seen, the big phones and whatnot, and then boom, 2000s, it was like crazy technology. Also, what I've thought, and this is just from what I think and what I've seen, is I think the government might have the new technology before it comes out to the public. That's what I've always thought. And that could possibly have a connection to this extraterrestrial things that we're thinking about.
Wow. Let me just say this, Jordan. I say, and I believe Baruti has heard me say this a lot of times. I tell Baruti that whenever a new technology comes out, I told him that means that the government has already had that technology for at least a minimum of 15 years. That's what
Yes.
I told him. I said that the government has already used it. It's obsolete, and then they say it's safe for us to get it. And that's my belief. And I feel that way, even with the technology that we're using right now on Zoom. I feel like that the government was probably already using this technology in the late 90s or the early 2000s, and then they made it for public consumption for independent distributors to distribute the technology and things of the sort. So I'm with you 100% on that. And I like that you brought that to the conversation. I don't know if Lady Sharon Brown wanted to, if she was in a position where she could talk to us about that a little bit. There she is. Hey.
Absolutely. And I was thinking and reflecting while everyone else was speaking, and one thing came to mind is we can achieve whatever we believe and conceive. And so I believe that a lot of technology and a lot of other developments are actually revelations. And once we open our minds up to something new, then we can actually move toward that. So when we involve our senses, our five senses, to say, there must be a better way, there's probably a better way, and we're thinking on a higher level, then I believe that we can do that. Now, the other piece to that is when we talk about science, and we talk about religion, Bishop, we have a number of people who can chime in on either side and sometimes on both. So I believe that when we are in touch with both sides, and we probably have a combination of both, then we can look at technology to say, well, you know what? Just like Miles Monroe said, and he was telling a story about there could be a time when it comes up to where we can strap a box on our heads, and technology we can carry with us anywhere. So therefore, we have a lot of the technology that we see now. As far as extraterrestrial, that is something that's fairly new to me. I believe that in what I believe in. And so when it comes to science, I'm a chemistry teacher. I'm an integrated physics and chemistry teacher, and I refused to teach biology for a number of reasons, and we can talk about that another time. But I believe that all good things are inspired by from up above,
Hallelujah.
and that we can move around now freely to use this technology as we see fit. Thank you so much.
Lady Brown, I am so I'm intrigued that you brought that up because you really got us ready for my next question. You beat me there, and the question that I was going to ask: is there any correlations between religion, spirituality, and extraterrestrial groups? In other words, do we got any religious scripts? And I'm being very open because, of course, my specialty is the Holy Bible. Okay, but there are other religious scripts of other societies. Whether it's the one that the Hindus use, the ones that Islam uses, the Quran. There are many holy books per se. Is there a correlation in religion between spirituality and ET groups? Brother Baruti, I'm gonna let you start with that and see how you feel on that subject.
If I'm understanding your question, is there a correlation between spirituality and I guess the concept of otherworldly beings or extraterrestrials? The Bible has many instances that some theorists say are an introduction of aliens into it. I mean, if you just look at Ezekiel, the wheel of Ezekiel, could that have been an alien? Could that have been a spaceship? I mean, there are many things. Even if you talk about the transfiguration of Jesus, some could say, did he have some other spiritual being or some other substance that allowed him to transfigure? I mean, different people have different theories. But I want to say this. There is a place that I visited in 2012 in Tanzania, Africa. It's called the Ngorongoro Crater. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to see this place because scientists say, and especially the ones that believe in extraterrestrials, they say that this is where aliens landed their spaceship in this 5-mile crater. And today, inside the crater, it has a slightly different atmosphere than outside the crater. The crater. Let me say that correctly. And so things grow a little bit differently inside than outside. And it's a phenomenon. And so there are many unusual things in the earth and in the world that we don't have a common explanation for. And some of the things that are correlated with a Bible and the thoughts and of scientists and difference. That's why it's always been a gulf, if you will, between science and religion. But many people are bridging that gulf and bridging that to say there's an explanation. And, you know, for some things there are, and for some things there never will be.
Brother Baruti, I'll put it like this. I've always said, and you know, you've seen me teaching, you've seen me doing a bit of everything, but I've always taught because biology was one of my favorite subjects to teach. And my philosophy has always been that science has always had the mission of trying to explain the wonders of the divine. If you just look at the word science, when we talk about science, all we're saying is knowledge, and that's something. Even though people use it to discredit what we call the divine, I've always said that the sole mission of science is to explain or to simplify what's going on in the divine mind, or what we call the logos or creation. So I guess before I bring Lady Sharon back and Jordan back, I guess the question should be asked, and because they're newcomers to this subject, my question would be to them: if Jesus would come back now without us having knowledge of who he is, or let's not say Jesus, let's just say one of the angels, Gabriel, or Ezekiel experienced the wheel inside the middle of a wheel. If you had an experience with Gabriel and you never heard of angels or messengers or anything like that, would they be considered extraterrestrial or alien? So if Jordan, I'll bring you in to see how you feel about that. Would the characters that we see in the Bible or in whatever your religious book is, who knows, it could be the Kabbalah, but if they would peer up on the scene now, would they have been considered as aliens back then? Jordan,
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I would think, especially given now, the times now and how we kind of classify things, if they were to show up, and like you said, anybody or anything, depends on whatever anybody's belief is, I think people would consider them extraterrestrial, just because I think science would definitely do that. I think science would more or less consider them extraterrestrial, as where religion wouldn't, and religion would just think of them as somebody. So that's what I think. There would be a big divide on that, I would think, between science and religion, as there is now. And I do agree with Mr. Carl too, that there is a lot of times there are certain phenomenons, certain things that happen that we can't explain. And what kind of confuses me is you see videos on YouTube or on Facebook, and where people edit videos to try to make it look like it is something going on. And it's really hard, because I'm interested, and I think there are certain things that happen in the world that whatever and whoever want us to see. They want us to know that there is something going on out there. So that's definitely my opinion on that.
Lady Sharon Brown, you have something to chime in on that. That's pretty deep. And being a woman of the word as you are, how would you take that?
Actually, I was thinking while the others were speaking, and I go back to foundation. I go back to our own beliefs, and our beliefs are basically shaped, let's say, from upbringing and forward. So as early as a human being can interpret and elaborate and judge, then we build up this bank of beliefs. And depending on how we were, what the elders would say, raised, it basically shapes our mindset. So, for instance, if we say, I believe that we have been entertaining angels unaware, then if an angel or whatever we want to call were to show up, some of us may not be surprised. Now, if we have an expectation that whatever we believe, whomever we believe in is coming, and we have been preparing, then we will not be surprised. On the other hand, let's say if there's a person in this world who has no background, let's say no religious background or no science background, and may not have much to lean on in terms of their own understanding, then when that person, that angel were to show up, it'd be like, oh my gosh, I might be scared, I might be afraid. And we all know, that faith and fear cannot coexist. Bishop is shaking his head. So I say all that to say, I just believe it depends on our background and what we're expecting in the ultimate end. Thank you.
Wow. I really like that. I really do. I mean, this is very, very intriguing. I can say this for myself. One thing that always got my attention was, and I believe it's in the book of Hebrews in the Holy Bible. It says that God is the creator of the worlds. It was when they translated it, it came out plural. It said God is the creator of the worlds and the universe, and everything that created belongs to Him. So one of the things as a teacher of the Word, I had to begin to think within myself, would God be so limited that we would be the only things that He created in the universe? So you're telling me that on all the other planets that they're discovering every day, there is no life. He only thought in all the eons and billions of years that there's been what you would call infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, infinite energy, which we know is what we call God, who we believe in. Are we so arrogant that we would think that we are the only creation in the entire universe? And Brother Baruti, that's what got me into really researching this thing. And I'm gonna add another thing into this. Where did your mind go when the president made the national announcement that he wanted to take millions and millions, let's just say billions of dollars, and create a new wing of the military called the Space Force? Why would he go out of his way? And I know he's not the most conventional president that we've had. History proves that. But why would a president with all the advisors and all the intelligent think tanks that he has surrounding him, besides him, why would they give him the okay to say it's okay if we put funding aside for a Space Force? Brother Baruti, I'll let you go ahead and give us some knowledge.
Of course, I don't think we can compare rational things to our president. However, he has made a new norm of what is rational in the culture and the mind of people. And let's just say that previous presidents knew about the existence of extraterrestrials and said, I'm gonna follow the company line. And this president says, hey, I'm president, I can do what I want. And one of the things he's gonna do is he's gonna be prepared to challenge what he knows is out there. And there you go with the Space Force. So, hey, I mean, I do not try to put rationality on our president. I do say in a weird way, I have to pay attention to him. I have to see where he's coming from and try to adjust my thinking to that understanding, because he's president. He's there. He has a whole group of people who are okay with him being there. So in this new world that we're in, I have to adjust and understand so I can navigate in this new particular world where a Space Force might be the new norm, because this president is not afraid to go against the grain and think that is what needs to happen to challenge the new world that is coming. I don't know. I know I went through. I went around the bend. I know I did, but you know, with this president, you got to try to have some kind of different thinking, because it doesn't. The traditional thinking is not going to get you in, because you can scream and complain, but he's there, and he might get reelected, and there's a good chance he's going to be reelected. I mean, we got to be honest. So I think, it does no good to be sitting up here complaining and saying all of this and all of that. Let's try to navigate and understand. I mean, let's try to navigate, not understand.
I'm glad that you brought, I'm glad you brought that out, Brother Baruti, because even in society today, all you got to do is go to YouTube or something like that, and you hear these monikers. You hear secret space program. You hear the story of a man that I believe, I'm trying to remember if it was the Eisenhower. I don't believe it was the Nixon era, but whoever it was before President Nixon or one of that. But you hear the story about this individual by the name of Valiant Thor, who was introduced to us by a preacher by the name of Dr. Frank Strange, or Strong, S-T-R-A-N-G. And you hear the military, you hear about military admiral talking about an operation called Operation High Jump, where he details that the Nazis had already made contact with these aliens that he referred to as Nordics, having blonde hair, blue eyes, from which he got his Aryan philosophy from, that pretty much fueled what they call the Third Reich. And you hear about them actually having a confrontation with actual flying saucers and spaceships, and also even the movie The Battle of Los Angeles, which is a play off of incident that they say that happened, where there were actually a fleet of spaceships that actually hovered over our state's capital. And we have all these different stories, not to mention the alien abductions that many people come out and say. So my question to Jordan Davis, and I'll start with him first, is there something you feel that the government does not want us to know? Is there something that they're keeping from us?
Yeah, so I actually think they want to keep as much stuff from us as possible, honestly. And I also do think, to touch on a little bit of what y'all were talking about, I think America wants to be the first in everything, and they will do anything in their power, ergo the whole, the whole Space Force thing, because they want to be first in everything. So, which, that's good. It's good for us to do that. But also, I think, that money and whatnot could have gone to some other things to help America with. But nevertheless, I'm glad that we are doing something to look into these things. I know there's a lot that they don't want us to know about. I don't know what, because I don't know, right? That's what they want us to not know, because I do kind of dabble in certain videos and conspiracies to, because it gives me an idea of what could be out there. But even with those things, I try not to let it get in my head, because that's the thing. It's easy for those type of things to get in people's head, and then therefore people start going out on the limb, and they might be focusing on something else. And also, what I think is, I think the government wants people to make these conspiracy videos, because that's taking away from the big idea of what they're doing. That's what I think.
Wow. Lady Sharon Brown, if you're able to talk, I would like to get your spill on that. You've heard it all, the Area 51s, the different alien abductions, and I'm trying to think of the very, very intelligent man that we just lost. We lost him a little while ago. You know which one, and forgive me for my ignorance, but the one that was in the wheelchair that needed the voice aids and everything, I forgot his name, but he even came out, he was like our #1 authority in science and technology. And he even made the statement that we were making a mistake as a human race by trying to seek out otherworldly species, because he said this could be, Stephen Hawking. And because he was telling me that he was saying that this could actually cause the demise of the destruction of the human race. Lady Sharon Brown, is there something the government does not want us to know? What is your take on that?
Well, thank you for asking. I think there is always something that the government does not want us to know, whether it's dealing with the space race, whether it's dealing with health, whether it's dealing with education, on all fronts. Now, I am not one to believe that government is all bad or that government is all good, because government is made up of people, we the people. So depending on the thoughts of the people, it basically determines how we do, how we act, the legislation, what is passed, what is brought up. And also we the people will include the followers and those who agree or disagree. So as everyone else was speaking, I was thinking about the government, and I likened that to a school building, because we're all familiar with education. So we can liken it to education, and let's say from a building standpoint, depending on the philosophy of the principal, let's say, then that determines what the people do. If we liken it to a school district, depending on the superintendent per se and what the superintendent believes in, then that's what the people will do. So in terms of the government, I know you mentioned the president and maybe some other people, and the money that was put forth or set aside or proposed to do this, whatever the space exploration or race is, people put their money, I'm going old school now, can I do that? People put their money up what they believe in. Like you say, put your money where your mouth is, and this, that, and the other. So I think back when President Obama, before his first election, I think back about the philosophy that was actually implemented for him to be elected. And I remember going to a living room type setting of someone. They brought people together across the country and broke bread and made sure everybody knew where to vote and how to vote, and on and on and on. So depending on the philosophy of the leader, whether it be a school building, a district, or the government, it basically determines how the money is expended, even sometimes how it's raised. So is there something that the government is trying to hide from us? Yes, I would say always. Thank you so much.
I like that. She made it plain and simple. Yes, there's something the government is trying to keep from us. Brother Baruti, I don't know how much time I got left, but I want to ask this question. And it's something that I want to hear from everybody. And that is, with everything that is going on in legislature, is there disclosure that is coming soon? Do you think that the government is preparing a way to disclose to us that we are not alone in the universe?
I do not think so. That's my personal opinion. There are too many mysteries. There are too many, and one of the big things about authority, power, is I know and you don't know. I have knowledge and you don't have the knowledge. And, that's not something that they will readily give up. Now, if it comes out that they have to, because there are no plausible deniability, then, maybe at that point. But I believe they will always find, for things that they don't want everybody to take part of or be aware of, they will always use deniability. There's too many things out there that cannot be explained. For instance, the Nazca lines in Peru. Who made that? Who who made that? Do they know? Do they already know? Who made the Olmec figureheads in Mexico? I mean, if you look at the outline of them and how big they are and everything, and what's the significance of them, I don't believe they really just want us to go into a deep search into that. Now, certain things cannot be just eliminated because they're part of the world, but it's like they used to say this about a black person, that if you wanted to keep information from them, put it in a book. And so you have to go and do some research and some overall checks, a deeper dive to really see some things that are out there, even though they are wide open. They are wide open for you to see, but it's not something that they just going to make common knowledge for everybody to think about, to have a deep dive on, to really kind of put a conjecture together of why is this like it is. I mean, if too many people ask why, I mean, you got the world in chaos, and the have-nots will start asking, well, shoot, why don't I have and they have? I mean, I got just as, I can do just as much as them. I mean, there's a certain order to not everybody having a deep curiosity of why or how or what. There's an economic order and there is a cultural order to not everybody asking why. Some people, they want to just go and follow the program because it causes too much difficulty if everybody asks why, and you have to explain why to everybody. And you know, I think that's a part of the structure of the world. And aliens would certainly just bring another conjecture, curiosity, so many questions. And maybe if God created aliens, that's the way that cosmic energy, creative intelligence of God wanted it. And it's how things supposed to be, that we are not supposed to just carry that knowledge or have that curiosity or have that understanding. Everybody's not supposed to have that. And that's a part of how the world is supposed to go.
Brother Baruti, what if we're the aliens?
Yes, certainly could be. Certainly could be. That could be what it is. We are the aliens. I mean, if you watch enough Star Trek, you watch enough Battlestar Galactica, you'll see many cases where we are the odd ones. I remember on Star Trek where the other beings would describe how hideous and ugly humans are. They call them ugly bags of water.
Yes.
That's what they call humans. So it's different perspectives. And if you think you have the only perspective, you are limited, or you are looking at the lens of life, the lens of cosmology with a very limited lens, because there's so many things just on this earth that we cannot explain. I mean, can we really explain why the grass grows? Can we really explain, I mean, why we breathe? The reason we breathe is because somebody put in us the chemical and the way that a human body can work to take in oxygen and then to breathe it out in the mechanism. I mean, how can that science be developed? So certainly it's not within the creator that created the earth and created human beings to create other beings if he, she, or whatever name you want to use for that. I use creator, but certainly they have that capacity.
Wow. With all this being said, and I know I got Lady Sharon and Jordan on here, I wanna get their perspective because Brother Baruti, I even tell my own congregation this, and this is if you want to know what's happening in the world, in the government, in technology, I would tell them go buy you a ticket at Showbiz, a Movie Time, a Cineplex, or what's the other one? The Studio Grill, Movie Tavern. Buy you a ticket, buy you some popcorn and some soda water, sit down, watch the movie, and it will tell you what's going on in the government, whether that's X-Men, whether that's Aquaman, whether it's the Avengers, and whatever you see. Because I'm telling you, Star Trek, I feel that Star Trek was getting us ready for today's technology. Battlestar Galactica, everything, and if you notice, even the Jetsons, because everything that they were making fun of in those cartoons and even on the movies, it's a reality for us today. So even with the cloning and all of that, I believe it's real because anything that they can put in a movie, I think that's the way that the powers that be let us know what's going on because the number one moniker of the occult, of what they call the Illuminati, the dark government, we got the shadow government, the people behind the scenes that are really pulling the strings, their moniker is hidden in plain sight. Anything you want, we want, anything we're doing, we're going to hide it, but we're going to hide it in plain sight where you'll be looking there at it and you won't even know that that's what's really going on. So I want to ask Jordan Davis, is disclosure coming? Does he feel like it's going to come out? And what is your take on this? Do you feel that they're hiding things in plain sight? Do you think that with all the whistleblowers, they'll finally tell us what's really going on?
So I think there is. I was actually watching this series the other day, America's Book of Secrets. I was watching some of those episodes, and they really get into detail about a lot of things. Of course, they can't say too much, but I think there is a Book of Secrets. I think there are a lot of ways that the government does try to basically say, hey, this is what's going to happen, or this is what could happen, and we're just going to show you in a form of a movie. So because, even like with this pandemic that's going on right now, people freak out. And I really don't think that we can handle the truth about a lot of things because people will take that truth and flip it and twist it and, start something just crazy. So I think that is true. I think that the government does use movies and media or whichever to kind of slowly tell us this is what's going on. I know with The Simpsons, for example, I don't know if you've heard about that, but there's a lot of predictions that The Simpsons have made, which have turned out to be almost true and accurate with the coronavirus, with President Trump, a lot of things. And I really do think that they are doing that. So I have to 100% agree on that. Now, the whole whistleblower things, I think a lot of times people go into Congress with the expectation or any public office that they want to expose things or make laws or really tell America the truth. But I think, honestly, sometimes it's better if we don't know the full truth. Because like I said, people will freak out and people will turn it into bad ways and whatnot. And I think sometimes there have been times where people have exposed things and that's why people disappear. And I think the government will right away turn it around and make it not so bad, if that makes sense. So that's my thought on that.
Wow. Lady Sharon Brown, I'm gonna see how you feel about it. We've had what's the name of that movie, Contagion? 13 Monkeys, 28 Days, 28 Days Later. Do you think, and I'm just saying that I just brought these movie titles out because I was saying, were they or were they not getting us ready for the coronavirus? If you ever go back and watch Contagion, it's scary. 28 Days Later and a couple of other movies. Lady Sharon Brown, do you feel that this is their way of hiding things in plain sight? And do you think disclosure is coming?
Oh my God, this question brings about so many ideas and reactions. The first one I will say is that everything, my background, sorry, let me minimize that. Okay. Everything is controlled by the media. Every single thing is controlled by the media. And when we take a look at what is being shared, what is being explored, what is being explained, what is being revealed, then we have to keep our minds open to say, I am going to base what I hear and what I see on what I believe. I keep going back to beliefs because beliefs are the basis for everything. So media is controlled by certain people, by certain individuals, by certain groups, and depending on what they want, they mean those who are controlling the media, depending on what they want us to know and how they want us to feel and react, that's the way they share. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Lady Sharon Brown. Listen, guys, my time is up. This has been, we're going to have to do a part 2 to this. This has been very powerful. Listen, I'm going to invite all these guests to come back for part 2 so that you can hear more from them. Part 2 will be coming up. So I just thank you all. This has been powerful. My guests, thank you for your insight. This has been the Source Seeker Hour. I want to thank those of y'all that have listened. Be looking for us to come on in the coming weeks. It's going to be powerful. I want to thank everyone on this program for your participation, and I want to say good night to all. Thank you for the Source